Mandala.
Mandala is a spiritual and ritual symbol in Hinduism and Buddhism, representing the universe. The basic form of most mandalas is a square with 4 gates containing a circle with a center point. Each gate is in the general shape of a T. Mandalas often exhibit radial balance. The term is of Hindu origin. It appears in the Rig Veda as the name of the sections of the work, but is also used in other Indian religions, particularly Buddhism. In various spiritual traditions, mandalas may be employed for focusing attention of aspirants and adepts, as a spiritual teaching tool, for establishing a sacred space, and as an aid to meditation and trance induction. In common use, mandala has become a generic term for any plan, chart or geometric pattern that represents the cosmos metaphysically or symbolically. A microcosm of the universe.
Hinduism. Religious meaning.
A yantra is a 2- or 3-dimensional geometric composition used in sadhanas, or meditative rituals. It is thought to be the abode of the deity. Each yantra is unique and calls the deity into the presence of the practitioner through the elaborate symbolic geometric designs. According to one scholar, yantras function as revelatory symbols of cosmic truths and as instructional charts of the spiritual aspect of human experience. Many situate yantras as central focus points for Hindu tantric practice. Yantras are not representations, but are lived, experiential, non-dual realities. As Khanna describes.
Political meaning.
The Raja Mandala, or Raja Mandala, Circle of States, was formulated by the Indian author Kautilya in his work on politics, the Arthashastra, written between 4th century BC and 2nd century AD. It describes circles of friendly and enemy states surrounding the king's state. In historical, social and political sense, the term mandala is also employed to denote traditional Southeast Asian political formations, such as federation of kingdoms or vassalized states. It was adopted by 20th-century Western historians from ancient Indian political discourse as a means of avoiding the term state in the conventional sense. Not only did Southeast Asian polities not conform to Chinese and European views of a territorially defined state with fixed borders and a bureaucratic apparatus, but they diverged considerably in the opposite direction. The polity was defined by its center rather than its boundaries, and it could be composed of numerous other tributary polities without undergoing administrative integration. Empires such as Bagan, Ayutthaya, Champa, Khmer, Srivijaya and Majapahit are known as mandala in this sense.
Buddhism. Early and Theravada Buddhism.
The mandala can be found in the form of the stupa and in the Uttanata Sutta in the Dhyanaikara, part of the Pali Canon. This text is frequently chanted.
Tibetan Vajrayana.
In the Tibetan branch of Vajrayana Buddhism, mandalas have been developed into sand painting. They are also a key part of Anuttara Yoga Tantra meditation practices.
Visualization of Vajrayana teachings.
The mandala can be shown to represent in visual form the core essence of the Vajrayana teachings. The mind is a microcosm representing various divine powers at work in the universe. The mandala represents the nature of experience, and the intricacies of both the enlightened and confused mind. While on the one hand, the mandala is regarded as a place separated and protected from the ever-changing and impure outer world of samsara, and is thus seen as a Buddha field, or a place of nirvana and peace, the view of Vajrayana Buddhism sees the greatest protection from samsara being the power to see samsaric confusion as the shadow of purity, which then points towards it.
Mount Meru.
A mandala can also represent the entire universe, which is traditionally depicted with Mount Meru as the axis mundi in the center, surrounded by the continents.
Wisdom and impermanence.
In the mandala, the outer circle of fire usually symbolizes wisdom. The ring of 8 charnel grounds represents the Buddhist exhortation to be always mindful of death, and the impermanence with which samsara is suffused, Such locations were utilized in order to confront and to realize the transient nature of life. Described elsewhere, within a flaming rainbow nimbus and encircled by a black ring of dorjes, the major outer ring depicts the 8 great charnel grounds, to emphasize the dangerous nature of human life. Inside these rings lie the walls of the Mandala palace itself, specifically a place populated by deities and Buddhas.
5 Buddhas.
One well-known type of mandala is the mandala of the 5 Buddhas, archetypal Buddha forms embodying various aspects of enlightenment. Such Buddhas are depicted depending on the school of Buddhism, and even the specific purpose of the mandala. A common mandala of this type is that of the 5 wisdom Buddhas, aka 5 jhanas, the Buddhas Vairocana, Aksobhal, Ratnasambhava, Amitabha and Amoghasiddhi. When paired with another mandala depicting the 5 wisdom kings, this forms the mandala of the 2 realms.
Practice.
Mandalas are commonly used by Tantric Buddhists as an aid to meditation. The mandala is a support for the meditating person, something to be repeatedly contemplated to the point of saturation, such that the image of the mandala becomes fully internalized in even the minutest detail and can then be summoned and contemplated at will as a clear and vivid visualized image. With every mandala comes what Tucci calls its associated liturgy contained in texts known as tantras, instructing practitioners on how the mandala should be drawn, built and visualized, and indicating the mantras to be recited during its ritual use. By visualizing pure lands, one learns to understand experience itself as pure, and as the abode of enlightenment. The protection that we need, in this view, is from our own minds, as much as from external sources of confusion. In many tantric mandalas, this aspect of separation and protection from the outer samsaric world is depicted by the 4 outer circles, the purifying fire of wisdom, the Vara circle, the circle with the 8 tombs, the lotus circle. The ring of Varas forms a connected fence-like arrangement running around the perimeter of the outer mandala circle. As a meditation on impermanence, a central teaching of Buddhism, after days or weeks of creating the intricate pattern of a sand mandala, the sand is brushed together into a pile and spilled into a body of running water to spread the blessings of the mandala. Kwan in his extended discussion of Sahaja, discusses the relationship of sojourner interiority and exteriority in relation to mandala thus.
Offerings.
A mandala offering in Tibetan Buddhism is a symbolic offering of the entire universe. Every intricate detail of these mandalas is fixed in the tradition and has specific symbolic meanings, often on more than one level. Whereas the above mandala represents the pure surroundings of a Buddha, this mandala represents the universe. This type of mandala is used for the mandala offerings, during which one symbolically offers the universe to the Buddhas or to one's teacher. Within Vajrayana practice, 100,000 of these mandala offerings, to create merit, can be part of the preliminary practices before a student even begins actual tantric practices. This mandala is generally structured according to the model of the universe as taught in the Buddhist classic text the Abhidharma-kosa, with Mount Meru at the center, surrounded by the continents, oceans and mountains, etc.
Shingon Buddhism.
The Japanese branch of Mahayana Buddhism, Shingon Buddhism, makes frequent use of mandalas in its rituals as well, though the actual mandalas differ. When Shingon's founder, Kukai, returned from his training in China, he brought back 2 mandalas that became central to Shingon ritual, the mandala of the womb realm and the mandala of the diamond realm. These 2 mandalas are engaged in the Abisko initiation rituals for new Shingon students, more commonly known as the Kenshin Kanjo, Jiyuan Guanding. A common feature of this ritual is to blindfold a new initiate and to have them throw a flower upon either mandala. Where the flower lands assists in the determination of which tutelary deity the initiate should follow. Sound mandalas, as found in Tibetan Buddhism, are not practiced in Shingon Buddhism.
Nichiren Buddhism.
The mandala in Nichiren Buddhism is called Emoji Mandala, Wenzai Manturu Leo, and is a paper-hanging scroll or wooden tablet whose inscription consists of Chinese characters and medieval Sanskrit script representing elements of the Buddha's enlightenment, protective Buddhist deities, and certain Buddhist concepts. Called the Goenzen, it was originally inscribed by Nichiren, the founder of this branch of Japanese Buddhism, during the late 13th century. The Goenzen is the primary object of veneration in some Nichiren schools and the only one in others, which consider it to be the supreme object of worship as the embodiment of the supreme Dharma and Nichiren's inner enlightenment. The 7 characters Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, considered to be the name of the supreme Dharma, as well as the invocation that believers chant, are written down the center of all Nichiren sect Goenzens, whose appearance may otherwise vary depending on the particular school and other factors.
Pure Land Buddhism.
Mandalas have sometimes been used in Pure Land Buddhism to graphically represent pure lands, based on descriptions found in the Larger Sutra and the Contemplation Sutra. The most famous mandala in Japan is the Tama Mandala, dated to approximately 763 CE. The Tama Mandala is based upon the Contemplation Sutra, but other similar mandalas have been made subsequently. Unlike mandalas used in Vajrayana Buddhism, it is not used as an object of meditation or for esoteric ritual. Instead, it provides a visual representation of the Pure Land texts, and is used as a teaching aid. Also in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, Shinran and his descendant, Reno, sought a way to create easily accessible objects of reverence for the lower classes of Japanese society. Shinran designed a mandala using a hanging scroll, and the words of the Nembutsu, Nan Wu Ami Teru Fo, written vertically. This style of mandala is still used by some Jodo Shinshu Buddhists in home altars, or Butsudan.
Christianity.
Forms which are evocative of mandalas are prevalent in Christianity: the Celtic cross, the rosary, the halo, the aureole, oculi, the crown of thorns, rose windows, the rosy cross, and the dromanon on the floor of Chartres Cathedral. The dromanon represents a journey from the outer world to the inner sacred center where the divine is found. Similarly, many of the illuminations of Hildegard von Bingen can be used as mandalas, as well as many of the images of esoteric Christianity, as in Christian Hermeticism, Christian alchemy, and Rosicrucianism.
Western psychological interpretations.
According to art therapist and mental health counselor Suzanne F. Fincher, we owe the reintroduction of mandalas into modern Western thought to Carl Jung, the Swiss psychoanalyst. In his pioneering exploration of the unconscious through his own art making, Jung observed the motif of the circle spontaneously appearing. The circle drawings reflected his inner state at that moment. Familiarity with the philosophical writings of India prompted Jung to adopt the word mandala to describe these circle drawings he and his patients made. In his autobiography Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Jung wrote, "I sketched every morning in a notebook a small circular drawing, which seemed to correspond to my inner situation at the time. Only gradually did I discover what the mandala really is. The self, the wholeness of the personality, which if all goes well is harmonious." Pages 195 to 196. Jung recognized that the urge to make mandalas emerges during moments of intense personal growth. Their appearance indicates a profound rebalancing process is underway in the psyche. The result of the process is a more complex and better integrated personality. As Jungian analyst Marie-Louise von Franz explains, the mandala serves a conservative purpose, namely, to restore a previously existing order. But it also serves the creative purpose of giving expression and form to something that does not yet exist, something new and unique. The process is that of the ascending spiral, which grows upward while simultaneously returning again and again to the same point. Creating mandalas helps stabilize, integrate, and reorder inner life. According to the psychologist David Fontana, its symbolic nature can help one to access progressively deeper levels of the unconscious, ultimately assisting the meditator to experience a mystical sense of oneness with the ultimate unity from which the cosmos in all its manifold forms arises.
In popular culture,
Mandalas feature prominently throughout the Wachowskis' animated feature The Animatrix. Mandala is the title of an episode of the television show Breaking Bad. It is the 11th episode of the second season.
gallery,